David, I'm going to ask if you can reach a person called Valerius.
All right. This is Valerian. Dave's a bit distracted this morning because of his crazy move. So it might be a minute before this gets to be really accurate. But in that time, ask questions. What would you like to know?
I was just verifying that you're the one I've been communicating with the automatic writings for some time.
Yes. There are others who are working as a sort of collective with you. That is, others help me do this with you. It's a sort of group communication to you. As with many things, the entities are not singular so much as they are groups. We, as this Valerian group, communicate with you in this particular way. This is all you needed to know.
No, I wanted to know if you had any further information for me today.
Well, it's this kind of interesting situation because it will be helpful for us to know if you have direct questions. Again, it's sort of still matching with Dave, so it's a bit hard to do the stream of consciousness. Ask questions and it will point us in the right direction.
Okay. Should I dedicate a set time and a routine to communicate with you?
Yes, that would be ideal.
Okay. It's been a
Be it,
little random lately.
yeah. Well, be at a time that would be ideal. It's not a problem that it's random, but if it's a set time, then the communication might be a little bit better. We really recommend that you do it in a time that's optimal for you because we are available at any time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure communicating with you. You are one of those wonderful people who's receptive, and that is very nice to work with. We find your work exciting.
Any particular part of it?
Well, let's apply the depths here. There's just the very nature of the communication is fine. That is, you're receiving all of the ideas, and we find it difficult to explain because our relationship with emotions is different than yours. Just very energetic. All of the information that we're sending is received well. That's what's fun about it, what's interesting about it, what's useful for you about it. It's also just the ability to work with someone so directly is really part of our goal. And we have found you who are excellent at doing this work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We thank you too.
I recently experienced a physical shift dimensionally. Are we going to be having more of those? Is this part of our earth shifting?
Yes, it is part of the earth shifting. This is just one. Not all people are feeling it in the same way. You will feel it because you are sensitive to the particular rhythms of the universe. And so you will indeed feel it more and at different times than others. You will walk through the streets and no one will appear to notice, but you will notice. It's important that you note that you are the one that's changing more than the environment. It is you and the environment who is changing, not just the environment. This is occurring, and it is useful for you to note that it is occurring. It is very important now to be very calm as you approach these things and to do them in very thoughtful ways. Notice and write it down if you wish. It might be useful for you to see it and put on paper what is occurring. It's sort of a highlighting something, if you will.
Did you have any questions, Carl?
Yes, Valerian. Is this a collective name for your group or is it a race?
It is a collective name for our group. That would be closer to the truth.
Okay. and you are extraterrestrial, or are you inhabiting a spirit realm or an alternative dimension?
The third is the closest to the truth.
So you're not from a particular a world such as like Earth.
We would be, we would say this more in the sense of energies come from different places. You might think, for example, of a human being who has lived 1,000 lives. They might be part of our collective, as well as someone who has lived as many aliens or trees or rocks, as well as those from dimensions that are quite difficult to explain to you in your dimension. It is not a simple group racing, as you will. It is more like bits and pieces of the universe come together in a sort of quantum way. Things break apart, they come together to form groups like our own. We would not say that we are all aliens. We would say that some of us have been aliens. We would not say that we are all angels, though some of us have been something like what you call an angel. The collective groups that form and change are much like the lifetimes that you have. In this lifetime, you are British. In another lifetime, you were an African sailor. These are sort of collective groups you've become portions of. That is, presently you are part of the group or the race that is English. This will change, of course, once you move on. You will become part of another group, perhaps an alien group, perhaps a group of trees. It is always shifting in extremely complex ways. It is not entirely possible to explain how this works. We would say even we don't know entirely how this works. There are levels above this where this organization takes place. This makes it sound a bit bureaucratic. It is not at all bureaucratic. It is a sort of magic, if you will, but perhaps this will do for an explanation.
Okay, so you coalesce together for the purpose of what? For education? Are you learning together?
Yes, we are learning, and we are also learning how to instruct. That is, if we are working and we are connecting to Sue, we are teaching Sue how to connect to us, and we are learning how to connect to Sue. Don't approach this as a hierarchy. Sue is not less important than we are not more important than Sue, etc. It is a learning. All of it is learning. You might think of it in the way of a person who is heavy, carries a lot of shadow, and a person who is not heavy, but they are full of light. Those two people are interacting. Both of them are learning, and both of them are becoming at different rates and in different ways. So there's a sort of constant interaction that is the universe that helps everyone. It makes everyone learn. We don't necessarily know the things that you know, Carl. We don't feel the things that you feel. So we cannot really connect. We cannot 100% understand you without experiencing you.
And is your group engaged in activities like communicating through Dave and channeling through Sue? Are you
yes.
you're involved in lots of these activities on Earth or in other areas of the universe as well?
Yes, on Earth and in other areas in the universe as well. It is not at all Earth-centric. It is sort of like we would give you the image of a sort of train station with trains going in many different directions. One or two of those directions, if you will, might go to Earth. We are also not the only body that is doing this. There are other bodies that are communicating and learning how to communicate. Again, we want to stress that we don't know everything. We don't know as much about humanity today as we could, which is why we interact. We will learn every single day, just as we're learning right now. now how to communicate. You might take Dave's vessel. He has this body, we speak through this body, and we have to know what is the right time and how he will feel safe. And we have to know that he is a little edgy today, he's a bit sleepy, and we must give him a little bit more time, or perhaps a nudge. We will wake him up in the morning with a more well, we are able to influence a slightly more positive outlook than he had when he is arguing with his landlord, for example. We laugh because he is laughing at what we're saying as he listens to this, because he knows that it is true. The woman who he met yesterday was a sort of invitation. You can stop worrying about these things now. Your new life awaits, and that will help him be more prepared for this morning, more optimistic, more ready. There are these sort of subtle changes that we can make. It is not all up to us. Dave must receive our messages well. He could rebel against them. Fortunately, he has not this morning. But we can sort of nudge, send little messages, send a cast of light, send a woman walking along the beach who looks interesting, who would engage with him, and reinstate his feeling of optimism about the future. These are all things that we must learn how to do, and we must be patient as a good teacher, for it might be that someday Dave is not prepared. He just simply does not want to do this, and he has the right to his body and his free will. There are so many things that we must learn, just as there are things that you wish to learn. We have a great task ahead of us, and that is to communicate with people like humans. And it does require extraordinary finesse, generosity, kindness, and patience on our part. And we must be patient with ourselves. We also make mistakes.
Have any or many in your group incarnated on Earth?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Helpful. We can know this task better. The problem, of course, is that after we are humans and we go into the light, to some degree we forget. It is really hard to be human. Yes, it is hard to live with no money. Yes, we forget all of these things and we get to the light and we are ready to go, if you will. And we have to be reminded that humans have certain limitations, that they have stomachs that need to be fed. And so, yes, we have been humans. There's a little bit of forgetting, and then as we interact, there's a good deal of remembering. This has a good deal to do with sympathy too. This is another layer, but yes, we have been humans. Not all of us have experienced extensive human lives. That is, some of us have been on Earth in other forms, as rocks and animals, and neighborhoods even. You might say that some of us have been plain on a tundra in Africa, for example. There's very subtle forms of existence that you don't necessarily know intimately because that is not your physical structure. You are not a rock. There are also many among us who are from various different places in the universe, on various different planes, some of which you would not be able to see if you looked. They are all here as a collective because the collective experience helps us to learn to communicate with you.
Where are memories?
What do you mean?
We all talk about remembering. When I was younger, I used to think memories were electronically stored in the brain somehow. But this can't be true because memories exist outside of our form. You have memories. So what are memories? Where are they?
Well, if you would think about a particular memory, and we would encourage you to think about one now, if you think about such a memory, notice how it has an emotional content. It's not just about you remembering where you put your keys. The important memories you have will install great feelings in you. Even as you remember them, you might feel nostalgic or sad or happy or joyous as you think of the memory of your birthday party when you were 6. You might also have a memory of tragic elements, etc. Much of the memory stored is stored closer to the heart than to the brain. It is more of a check mark or an empirical experience. It is a bit difficult to explain because we also don't exactly forget. It is sort of like we put the memory in a place and then we go open the door and access that. It's little different to access because we don't function so emotionally where we are. We have the emotion of compassion, but we don't necessarily feel the same kinds of emotions at the same intensity as you do. So it is sort of like when we're going to speak to you and you have a feeling, perhaps you are sad, and we are channeling with you, we will remember, yes, this is what sadness is like, and this is how we can help. It is sort of like storing memories in a bank, if you will, and we can use the term memory bank. And then when they are noticed, when they are useful, when they are applicable, we can go to them. Keep in mind, if there are 1,000 of us who have lived 1,000 various lives, that those memories will be collective memories. There will be 20 of us, this is not a good example, but just for an example, who will have had exactly the same feeling. And so when we are speaking to Dave, who is having a little trouble focusing this morning, we can just sort of rally and sort of give a little nudge. It's only possible because Dave is willing to give us a nudge. He is in fact asking us unconsciously to please nudge him in the direction so he can concentrate. And when this happens, we have the experience of remembering the emotions that block our concentration. It's not like we are totally inaccessible to our emotions. They are just sort of put, you might think of it as a sort of Akashic record of memories which we access when it is useful.
And memories are linked, from your explanation just now, very tightly with emotions.
Yes.
Which then begs the question, where are emotions a separate thing, or are they interlinked and connected in some way with the memories?
We would say the memories are stored in a place that's something like the emotions. So again, rather than consider the memories in your brain, consider the memories as being stored in your heart. This is mostly a metaphor, but it's not entirely a metaphor. Since the memories are here and they're in your heart, they will be really expressed at certain times. When you go and you feel sad, it might connect you to other times when you feel sad, just as the memories are in happiness. It would be more useful to think of the Akashic records as a gigantic heart, as a gigantic feeling center, and the feeling center which you go in and you enter through feelings will allow you to access the memories of the feelings of others or the feelings of your past or future.
When you're connecting with Sue and connecting with Dave as you are now, although they're in different ways, is it possible for you to experience their emotions when you connect with them?
We do experience their emotions, yes. Absolutely, we experience them. It is a challenge and an excitement for us.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You are so welcome.
Do you have specific objectives in your realm? I nearly said in your life, but I mean it is a life, but it's not anything like ours.
Yes.
So I mean, we're here on Earth. We have roles to play. We have jobs to do. Do you, in your realm, have specific objectives that you're working on? So you, as a collective, do you have a task that you are tasked with achieving?
Yes, we do have a task, and you are right to point out that it is a collective action as opposed to what you might call yourself an
Yeah.
individual human action. It is a collective goal, and our collective goal is to teach you, to help you at this time. There are dangers, there are possibilities that things could go quite terribly wrong on this experimental planet of Earth. You are a planet with very strong emotions. That is more so than virtually any other place. The emotions carry the day. Look at your political situations now. People are not driven by ideas, they are driven by emotions. They are driven by how they feel, if you will. It is our job to work together with these feelings, which can be positive. It can be used, feelings can be used toward love, etc. So our goal is to work with these feelings to help, we hesitate to use the term elevate because it sounds a bit patronizing, and we don't wish to be patronizing. We wish just to say that, yes, we do have a goal. It is a collective goal to help, to collective goal to teach, a collective goal to learn about how to teach and how to communicate. So we are students too. It might just be that we are the teachers that are learning, and you are the students that are learning. Both are learning, but we have a very clear goal, and we have a very clear agenda, if you will. Now, our goal is to help humanity in a time of great crisis.
And we are certainly in great crisis at the moment with all the horror that's happening around the planet at the moment.
Yes.
There's a high degree of feeling and emotion and very little thought, unfortunately, at the moment into what's happening.
We would send you all our empathy, and we would like you to understand that you are absolutely right to have these feelings. It is a difficult time for the human race. We would not have come here if the time was easy. This is all we can do, and we want you to know that we empathize with you. We cannot say the word sorry because this is how it must be, but we want you to know that it is indeed a difficult time for the human race, and we do want to help.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Please take a moment, all of you, and receive the empathy just for you personally so that you can function and deliver our message. We would ask you to receive our love and empathy and understanding. We appreciate the hard work that you are doing now on Earth. It is extremely valuable and very important, and it will shift things. It may take some time and some work on both of our parts, and by that we mean you and us, all four of you and us, but we will learn what is necessary to learn. Feel our empathy and love. It is a great work that you are doing. It matters, and it will change everything.
Can you explain how? How will what we do change the world for the better?
If you can look at each other, all of the people in this group and those who are not able to be here today, you have changed each other's lives. You have become quite dedicated to this practice. It is impressive how dedicated you have become. You have altered your lives and gotten up in the middle of the night to do this work, just to speak and learn. This is very, very important, and it is deserving of great respect that you would do such a thing. But notice how you have already changed each other's lives greatly. We have changed each other's lives as well, that is spirit, and you have interacted. And we believe you have been changed by us. We might take Sue's writing, for example. This practice of writing is altering her consciousness in such a way, and again, it is all voluntary, and it is altering our consciousness in a way. That is certainly voluntary. So if you can see these changes just in an individual, imagine the impact that it is having on many individuals. There is a greater percentage now of people who are doing this work than at any other time. It adventures around 0.5% of the people on the planet are doing some kind of work specifically like this. There's a greater number of people doing good things to help, but the percentage of people actually speaking directly to spirit is vastly increased. No longer is it one eccentric person on the planet. No longer is it one leader. It is a whole body of people. And all of those people, each individual, that 0.5% is walking around and being kind and saying the right things. They are changing the energy just by walking down the street, just by showing a smile. We will give an example that Dave thought of recently, and he wishes he could go back on a time machine and he could correct. He was working at a very difficult job in a doctor's office where he was underpaid and overworked, and he tried all the time to be kind. And one day he was in an extremely bad mood. It was a really terrible day, and a woman showed up and noticed his bad mood. She was a nurse. She was assisting an elderly person. And she smiled a broad smile and said to him, "Are you having a bad day?" And his attitude completely changed. He now regrets that he did not get up and thank the woman for changing his day, but she already knows her power. Her job is basically to walk around and say such kind things to people that their days changed. This woman was very connected to spirit. She talked to God all the time. She was not grandiose. She did not have a famous job. She was a lowly paid assistant person, but that was not important to her. She could walk through the day and sense the feelings of others and help them just by being there. All of you do this. All of you interact with other humans and you change the way they think. This is a great difficulty sometimes for people like Dave, because it seems sometimes that everything he does has these grand consequences. It makes him uncomfortable sometimes. This is a message for him, by the way, and he feels great pressure and does not know what to do. It's as if he says the wrong word and the person before him will crumble. This is a bit of extraordinary circumstances for him. He can calm down a little bit and not work so hard. But all of you, and every time you interact with another, and whenever you're doing this work, you are transforming your vibrations and you send forth those vibrations around. This is all that is required. We do not expect you to stop the conflict in the Middle East. We expect you only to learn as well as you can and to do as much as you can when you can do it. This is enough. If all people did what you are doing, there would no longer be such conflicts. Alternating parties would sit down and they would speak to one another, and each would say how they were feeling and what they were thinking, and they would listen to one another and come together for some kind of compromise. If person A could see in their heart the feelings of person B, if they could spend a moment to think about how they interact and what is important and why, if they could have empathy for that person as we have shown empathy for you and you show empathy for others, the conflict would quickly end. There would be great learning. It is a sort of battle. A battle is much more the battle for understanding. As you move into your greater understanding, you are brave soldiers going into difficult places. When you go into a situation and you lower the temperature a bit or end a conflict or choose not to participate in a conflict, you are changing everything. As you walk away from the conflict, the person might say to themselves, well, I shouldn't have approached things in quite that way. Maybe I could do better next time. I should have thought a little bit more about how that person was feeling before I got angry, etc. It is all learning, and you will make these mistakes, but even in the mistakes, you are learning. This is all we ask, that when you make a mistake, you reflect upon it and learn better. The parties that are fighting are not reflecting. They are not taking a moment to consider their actions. This is where your human emotions become disastrous. They get so locked into a particular emotion. It is like a prison, and they cannot get out. Notice that you don't do this, Carl. You don't become locked in a particular emotion. You might feel a particular emotion, and then one day you say, I am going to change this. I am going to get out of the river of shadow that I am in and go into a river of light. And it is not a passive act when you do that. You are choosing to do that. That is the most important thing about your human existence. You choosing not to be in a river of shadow and choosing into another river. All of the world's problems would be greatly eased if the average person could simply stay in the emotions that they have, acknowledge their emotions, accept that they have these emotions, and then reflect. How can I live and be with this emotion, and how can I change this emotion so that I'm not always locked away in this emotion? So when you see people being unkind or violent, this is what is really going on. They are not able to look at the emotion and see that the emotion, for example, of rage is an emotion that they felt before and that they have left before, and that they could leave that emotion now and come to a more reasonable conclusion. There are great apparent differences that humans fixate on. They will fixate, for example, on being a member of one religion or another, and the process of reflection begins to stop because instead of reflecting, they will identify with a group they consider to be part of their power, and they will become part of that emotional body of power that insists that something is true, that, for example, one must have fish on Friday. That is their group, that is their rule, that is their law. And they have stopped reflecting on why they should have fish on Friday. They have stopped considering that others might not care to have fish on Friday and that that is okay. They have registered with one position and stopped the reflecting process. The reflecting process is very important for humans to evolve. All of you are good at this reflecting process, which is why you are able to achieve a much higher understanding of who you are, your place in the universe, and it is why you are able to communicate with us. If you were not on this level, we would not communicate with you because our words would be used in negative ways. People would use them to gain power, for example. You might look at the leaders of any religion and see that to some degree, the words have fallen into the hands of people who would like to utilize them and stop reflecting.
Thank you. We do love these interactions with you.
Yes.
We really do. Yeah.
Yes. It is very enjoyable for us as well. Imagine a teacher waiting for the student to come and ask for help. And then when they do, we have found our star students. It's very exciting for us.
We are filled with gratitude for the wisdom that you bring to us and the tools that you provide us to negotiate this earthly realm, because we do learn an awful lot from you guys.
Yes.
And it does help us.
We are basking in the light of this conversation, and we would ask you to do the same thing. The gratitude that makes it all possible. In some sense, the world and the universe and everything is a wonderful place because it allows this kind of conversation. We also find that it takes you away from the empathetic process that you exist in, where you do see the crimes committed to others. It's very saddening. We are glad to provide some alternative of light and optimism and let you know that it is all good in the end. There is a reason for this conversation. There is a reason for the human experience and the emotions that exist there. It is a difficult task for all of you to be in this place and to rise above. It is impressive, and understand that we too are very joyous when we have conversations with you. Picture all of us sort of cheering in a stadium, doing what you call a wave. And that is how we wave at you.
Thank you.
You
That
are
was
welcome.
profound. Yes, thank you so very much. We really
Yes.
appreciate everything and coming through today and sending you love and light as well. And
Yes, thank
do we have any other questions, or are we ready to wrap it up?
I have one more question, if that's okay.
you. It is.
It's a personal question, and I don't know whether you can answer it. I had a dream last night. In fact, I often have dreams where I get a strong sense that I'm connecting with myself in another life. And last night, it was incredibly powerful. I actually woke up confused as to which life is the real life. Is this just a dream, or is this actually what's happening? Am I connecting with other versions of myself
You are
that are
indeed.
actually living elsewhere?
You are connecting to other versions of yourself.
Okay.
There's a message about that lifetime that it is important for you to understand now. You are also, when you're waking up and not sure which life you are in, connecting to that sort of interim place where you go after your physical body deteriorates, you go into the light. There is a sort of process where you realize, this is how it all works. So you are in the area of this, not exactly there, but in the sort of plane of understanding how it all works. And that is why you are remembering so vividly the other lifetime. It is literally like you have walked into it. Remember, time is illusion.